Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, welcome all the devotees online. Thank you very much for your time. As we associate with Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 14, verses 11 to 18, Process of Creation. Om Jnanatimi Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Bhagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padans Bhagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishpadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesa Samyabhadi Paskatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarvashastra Piyusha Sarva Vaireka Satpala Sarva Siddhantaratnarya Sarva Lokait Prada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidvando Didaritya Shri Krishna Parivarjita O Srimad Bhagavatam O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures O most prominent translate fruit of all the Vedas O you enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world O light breath of the Vaishnava devotees O Lord you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna who has returned amongst us. Paramananda Pataya Premavashasharayate Sarvada Sarvasevya Shri Krishnaya Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisance unto you. By reading you one attains transcendental bliss. For your syllables rain pure love of God upon the reader. You are always to be served by everyone for your incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madekabando Matsangim Madguru Man Mahadana Man Nishtaraka Madbhagya Madananda Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer respectful obeisance unto you. Asadu Sadhu Tadahi Naktini Chochataraka Hanamun Chakada Chinmam Premna Ritkati Aspura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O giver of saintliness and unsaintly, O uplifter of the very fallen, please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest Mahatma toward the comfort and pure love of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Yatonvayaditaratas Charte Swabhigna Swara Tene Brahma Hidayadi Kavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatrati Sargom Risha Damna Svena Sada Nirastakvakam Satyam Param Dhimaihi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed in illusion, as one is bewildered by illusory representation of what is seen by or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representation of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Pranalpaisha Sabya Kalabasmin Yuge Janam Handa Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagyu Padrita. O learned one, this age of Kali, many but short lies, their quarrels, laziness, guided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Narayan Namaskritya Narachevam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of God and Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shila Vyasadeva, the author. Savaipum so paro dharmo yato bhaktira dokshaja ahitakya pratiyata yayatma suprisidati. The supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatyu Savairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahitukam. By rendering devotional service under the personality of God as Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires positive knowledge and detachment from the world. Vedanti tattva vidastatvam yaj gnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Learned transcendentals who know the absolute truth calls non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Shru Shru Shoshadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatsya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat. O sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all bias, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Shranvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ryadantastoya Vadrani Vidunorit Surit Satam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor, a truthful devotee, cleanses desire from material enjoyment. From the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. Nastaprayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki. By regular attendance in the classes of the Bhagavatam and the rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service under the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Vyam Swadharmam Parinishtaya Janmalava Para Pumsam Antenara Yanasmriti. The highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupation duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo udari tibrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material anxiety, full of all material desires, without any material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the supreme whole personality of God. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are continuing Srimad Bhagavatam based on the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Hare Krishna. So let us cover any feedback anyone has or remember from last week's verses, chapter 4, first 10 verses. If you have any feedback, please type that in the chat. Madhachana Siddhi says, our practice, Hare Krishna Prabhu, our practice is to try to make our mind more and more chaste by regular Krishna conscious, specifically by hearing. Yes, chastity. In the Bible, Jesus, thinks Jesus, but the verse is there. He says, or somebody says, or the Lord is speaking, that one should not worship any other image other than me, because I'm a jealous God. So Krishna, he wants chastity. Our heart needs to be completely chaste and dedicated to Krishna. And that's natural. Imagine somebody, having half a dozen paramours, going from one house to another. It's not appropriate. So Krishna also, we cannot split our affection across different worshipable personalities. That said, chastity to Krishna means chastity to Krishna and Krishna's expansions. Also Krishna's pure devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami in Nectar Devotion makes the point that this is not contrary to chastity. This is not contrary to pure devotion to Krishna. Because if one just says, I only worship Krishna and nobody else, then that is not pure devotion. But worshipping demigods, worshipping other people, that is unchaste. So worshipping Krishna, honoring Krishna, and yes, as one advances in spiritual life, then also that affection for the other incarnations narrows and narrows and ultimately becomes condensed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Depending on one's eternal relationship, that becomes fully condensed, and your whole being, mind, all your senses, your whole personality is completely 100% focused on that personality. We find in Krishna book when the gopis were searching for Krishna, and the Lord appeared in the form of Narayan, who is an expansion of the Lord. So they honored Narayan, offered obeisances, and then asked Narayan, did you see our Krishna? And when Srimati Radhavani saw Narayan and offered obeisances and says, did you see my Krishna? Krishna could not hold his other two extra hands because of her love and devotion. So yes, chastity. We need to become more and more chaste. And how? Simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, simply by hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sharina says, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please accept Mahabal Bhai's appreciation. From last week's class, it was mentioned that the aspect of creation comes up in all 9 cantos. Krishna's omnipresent opulence, potencies, his vastness, his unlimitedness. This is the person we are trying to develop a relationship with. When we start to understand this, we become humble. We must become chaste in our thoughts and service to Krishna. Yes. And that faith begins to develop. That yes, we're not surrendering to some insignificant personality. No, we're surrendering to the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, the most powerful, the most amazing personality, the personality, the highest being in creation. It's no ordinary person. In today, we were listening to a lecture today. Prabhupada was making the point that if you please Krishna, you surrender to Krishna, you have all the resources available for service that Krishna has. Now, Krishna, he has unlimited resources. So you have unlimited resources. So when we surrender, when we are chaste, when we please Krishna, when we understand, when we really have faith and understand who Krishna is, then there is no lack. And therefore, the Bhagavatam is presenting these aspects of creation specifically in many of these cantos, so that even the different pastimes of Krishna killing the different demons, they're there just to instill faith and submission, so that when we enter the 10th canto, when we enter Vrindavan, then we can enter with the proper attitude. In Act of Instruction, Prabhupada says, the attitude of the devotee is really the secret of advancement. So these aspects really fine-tune our attitude towards Krishna. Otherwise, we can, when our faith is shallow, when our faith is weak, then yes, our surrender to Krishna is not solid. It's very shallow. We flicker. We go from one place to another. It's like shopping. It's not dedicated. It's not focused. Not concentrated. Becoming Krishna conscious means a negation of material attachments. A devotee of the Lord never thinks of household paraphernalia as his own, but surrenders everything to the service of Krishna. But we must be honest. If we have material attachments, we must never present ourselves as being detached. Very nice. Yes. That point also Prabhupada is making. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he prefers a street sweeper better than a charlatan yogi. Krishna does not appreciate pretenders. those who have attachments and presenting themselves as very advanced. But somebody who's sincere, who's honest, even though he's fallen, they will make far more tangible advancement than somebody who's pretending. Prabhupada often gives the example, it's more difficult to wake up somebody who's pretending to sleep than somebody who's actually sleeping. Somebody who's actually sleeping, you can wake them up very quickly. But somebody who's pretending to sleep, you try to wake them up, they're not going to wake up. Why? Because they're pretending to sleep. And therefore, you'll never be successful. So that's the same with pretentious devotees. We must hear transcendental topics from a bona fide person. And the crucial test of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is that one gets positive enlightenment by such an act. The process of Krishna consciousness is a science. If we are following Prabhupada's instructions, then the transformation, the enlightenment has to be there. Yes, it will be gradual, but it has to eventually come. Now, before enlightenment, the rough edges need to be eradicated. So this way, the Bhagavatam will slowly purify our hearts. The rough edges, they are eliminated. The gross anarthas slowly eradicated, and then the subtle anarthas eradicated, and then the real effects of the Bhagavatam will begin to manifest. This all depends on each devotee's sincerity, dedication, commitment, rapt attention, seriousness, their association. So all these things, they add up in terms of how the Bhagavatam responds and reciprocates. Every one of us are individuals. We all have our own past baggage, and therefore the Bhagavatam will deal individually with each devotee. But the end result is always the same: pure love of Krishna. That eventually will be there. Timeline may be different. The effects will definitely be there. Shamananda Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thanks for explaining the difference between disgust and indifference and sharing the story of the two sannyasis. We thank Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada for showing us how to navigate things and engage in devotional activities, even though we still have many attachments and desires. Yes. The beauty of the process of Krishna consciousness is having attachments and desires, not an disqualification for practicing Krishna consciousness, but maintaining attachments and material desires, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter, that is an offense. Sometimes the devotees think, oh, Prabhu, I'm so fallen, I have so many attachments and so many material desires. No. That is not a disqualification. That is a qualification for mercy, because you understand you are a rascal, you understand you got so many attachments, you understand you got so many material desires, therefore you're not qualified. And if you're not qualified, then that means that it's not your endeavor and by your efforts that you are becoming Krishna conscious, because you're not qualified. You got so many material desires and attachments, you're a rascal. But if you are making advancement, if you're developing an attachment for hearing, if you're developing an attachment for service, you like the association with devotees, you like to be Krishna conscious, that means you got Krishna's causeless. Now, in that process, if you maintain those attachments, then that becomes the anartha, that becomes the anchor, that becomes the obstacle. So we need to contemplate and see always how to adjust, or how to purify our life, how to improve our life. in spiritual practice, even if it's a little at a time. How can I, improve my retention of Krishna? How can I improve my service to Krishna? How can I improve or increase my service to Krishna? So like that, we always have to see, how can I increase? How can I improve? We see Srila Prabhupada had that consciousness in spreading Krishna consciousness. How to expand. Like Prabhupada said, if you open up a temple, then you should only increase the standard if you can maintain the standard. You can't shut the temple down in that sense, but you can maintain. So in this way, there's always expansion. And Prabhupada, if we see his life in spreading Krishna consciousness, there was no time to relax. Prabhupada was on a train with some devotees in India, and the train stopped at one place, and the doors opened, and either the Prabhupada or devotees remarked, such a nice place, just looking at train stations, just a nice place. Prabhupada told his, I think it was two devotees, jump off, to set up a center there. So they just jumped off and started a center. No, but Prabhupada and money, no, just jumped off and okay, let's see how we can expand. So in this way, Prabhupada always was looking how to expand. So in our own life, we should always be thinking, how can I improve? Yes, not like a rocket, not like a shooting star that I, fly fast and then dissipate. No, but very systematically build and build. And when you do that, you will find that your Krishna consciousness does not become dry, does not become hackneyed, and it builds. So you will always be inspired, and in this way, advance in Krishna consciousness. Afana Prabhu says, Maharaj Parikshit's devotion can be mistaken to conditional chastity. He saw the Lord protecting him by way of preserving the Pandava seedling. He therefore was somewhat conditional and chaste in that sense. Yes, from an external perspective. At the same time, if we analyze, Krishna appeared to him in the womb. He saw Krishna, but then Krishna never appeared again to him. And from birth, Maharaj Parikshit knew, inside him that somebody protected me. This person that I saw protect me, but I'm looking for him. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? He was examining, therefore the name Parikshit. So that examining, looking for Krishna, that is what made him Krishna conscious. That is what made him chaste. Because he was looking for the right person. He wasn't looking everywhere. He wasn't looking for anyone, but he was looking for someone that he saw. That person who he saw was Krishna in his womb. That's the person he was trying to find. Where is this person? Eventually, when he meets that personality, then that his devotion, his love, his affection just skyrockets. So yes, it seems like there was some favoritism in that sense, but Krishna does this even to us. It's explained that when one comes to Krishna consciousness as a new person, Krishna gives him so much taste. Krishna gives him so much mercy, and then Krishna withdraws to see, is he serious? So if you analyze in your own lives, you'll see this also, that favoritism that Krishna gave Maharaj Parikshit, he gives to every living entity. The beginning. That favor is there, and then Krishna pulls in a way, teaching us to, or testing us to see, are we also like Maj Parikshit then? Greedy to find Krishna, greedy in that separation, wanting that taste. It may not necessarily be in terms of protection, but somehow or other, we analyze, we'll see that our first contact with Krishna consciousness was always very sweet, intense, surcharged, very powerful. That's because Krishna's favor is there. And then slowly Krishna draws the string away to see how do we respond to that mercy. Nalini Kanta Amavati says, Lord Chaitanya used to bless others. Krishna Matiras too. May you become Krishna conscious. Yes. It's a wonderful blessing. Anytime we meet devotees, when we see devotees, instead of saying hello, Hare Krishna, nice to say, Krishna Matiras too. May you become Krishna conscious. Nice blessing. So beautiful blessing. We should also give everyone this message by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Yes. Prabhupada's books is the only knowledge that will enlighten, guide people's souls in the right direction. Other books may give you bits and pieces, but these books are not ordinary. Again and again, Srila Prabhupada, he said, Krishna dictated his books. Therefore, even I read them. So they have a certain mission, certain purpose, very deep, very exalted purpose. Krishna manifesting in these ways, in the form of Prabhupada's books, to touch souls. So to distribute, to get these books in people's hands, to give this philosophy, very, very important. Challenges are not the end of the world. We should never give up the path of Krishna consciousness. Draw attention to the lotus feet of Krishna. Challenges will always be there. The nature of the material world. Right from Lord Brahma, Indra, all the demigods, no one is freed from challenges, especially in the material world. We see this so graphically, even with all the incarnations when Krishna comes in this world. Sometimes when we see, just like, the Mahabharata, we look at the Mahabharata episodes, the Ramayana episodes, or even when you read Mahabharata, Ramayana, Krishna book, and we see certain episodes are heart-rendering. Like, for example, Lord Ramachandra being exiled, Sita Devi being captured, and Lord Ram has to go through so much anguish. Krishna has to be taken out of Vrindavan. And we see the devotees going through so much pain. And it pains the heart. Thinking, why must the devotees go through this? Well, this is the material world. This is the nature of the material world. So that's the first lesson. In the material world, therefore, challenges, difficulties will be there. It's part of the package. But the lesson is, even Krishna, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the devotees never give up their duties, their dharma. The devotees never give up Krishna no matter what. So that's the lesson for us. Challenges may be there of different sizes, forms, shapes, but we should never give up being Krishna conscious. Bowing to the deity, I'm very significant. Pseudo, the symptoms of bhava, mine is good. Good to understand that it is that it now can be gauged by one's level of material desires as opposed to spiritual desires. Maybe explain your question. I'm not, or your feedback. If you want to unmute, you can also unmute. Just need some clarification. Bowing to the deity. I'm very significant pseudo symptoms of Baba. Good to understand that it now can be gauged by one's level of material desires as opposed to spiritual desires. All right, Bafana, we need some clarification on your question or feedback. In the meantime, I will read Srila Prabhupada's power statements. The whole Vedic adventure is to draw one's attention entirely unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna without any diversion, as instructed in Bhagavad Gita. So we mentioned this aspect. We should see Krishna consciousness as an adventure. And each one of us have a unique adventure. Even though it's all centered on Krishna, but each one has a different adventure. And Krishna will reveal himself in adventurous ways. But the focus of that adventure is one and one only. To draw one's attention entirely unto the lotus feet of Krishna. The statement of Bhagavad Gita that one must first of all surrender unto the Lord, being freed from all the other engagements, means that one must become a pure, unconditional devotee of the Lord. Only then can one know him by the strength of devotional service. So, here one must first of all surrender and become free. Means one must become pure, unconditional devotee. That means there is pre-qualification. If there is no pre-qualification, or if it's not like we just come to Krishna consciousness and now, I'll be speaking to Krishna, I'll see Krishna, that relation. No. It's not going to be cheap. Krishna is not cheap. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's going to require effort. It's going to require dedication. If we see all the previous, in the previous ages, devotees performed such severe austerities. Thousands and thousands of years. Even the demons performed such severe austerities. So one day God wasn't, just coming today very easily. No, they had to really endeavor seriously. The process of Astanga Yoga in the previous ages was severe. Now, that same result can definitely be obtained in this age very, very easily, simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna. The problem is, or I wouldn't say a problem, but the requirement is one must chant with attention and free from offenses. So we're engaging in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, engaging in devotional service to increase the quality of that chanting. Because that chanting needs to come, we're chanting in the offensive stage. Now we need to really be focused to chant in the clearing stage. And as we chant in the clearing stage, we'll then come to the chanting in the pure stage of chanting, offenseless stage of chanting. Then we can see Krishna, we can reciprocate, we can engage in pure devotional service. So our practice really is to chant with rapt attention, to try to master, perfect the art of chanting. Bhavana says, actually the other way around, which is gauged by level of spiritual enhancement as opposed to material hankering. Yes, material anchoring, just like we all have anarthas, we all have material desires, we all have a material side. But we also have a spiritual side. We are spiritual beings, so we have a spiritual side. So both sides are there. Now, there's two ways one can live one's life. Focus on the material, absorption on the material, or absorption on the spiritual. Our focus is absorption on the spiritual. Even with our material desires, even with our narratives, I note the narrative, I'm aware of the narrative, but I do not contemplate on the narrative. I don't fuel the narrative by contemplation. My contemplation is on the positive aspect of the process of Krishna consciousness. So when I focus my attention spiritually, still aware of my anartha, attentive of my anartha, so that it doesn't catch hold of me and derail me from spiritual practice, my focus is positive, and I let the positive focus, I let the benefit of the positive focus of Krishna consciousness purify and destroy my anartha. In that way, I could be the biggest rascal, but the sincerity of my spiritual desire, even if it's teeny weeny, tiny, little bit, that can snowball, amplify, and completely eradicate my material side. So that's the key. And that's why, if we see how Srila Prabhupada responded with individuals, somebody showed some interest. What did Prabhupada do? He fanned that spiritual interest. Even with what mountains of material attachments and desires. But Prabhupada was very effective at fanning that spark and letting that spark become a fire and then an inferno and take over. I'm referring to the 8 symptoms of chanting that's been imitated as bhava. The purport says that it can be measured by one's spiritual high desires, then manifest those 8 symptoms. So the 8 symptoms, which I describe in Nectar Devotion, those are just like perspiration, choking, trembling, different tears flowing from the eyes. These 8 symptoms, which are originally there, they can be imitated materially by those who are expert in that field. And therefore, we do not take them too seriously. What we take seriously, as Prabhupada went through those symptoms described by Srila Rupa Goswami, that cannot be imitated. Full absorption, spending 24 hours a day in service of Krishna, attachment to Krishna, etc. Those cannot be imitated. So yes, we measure spiritual high desires, correct. And that means our focus, if you look at all those symptoms that Srila Rupa Goswami mentions, they're very practical and they cannot be imitated at least for a long time. And they're focused on very practical Krishna conscious activities. So one can see those activities and see those symptoms become very visible. And that's why Prabhupada told Harisori Prabhu to stay with him 24 hours a day, so that those symptoms that Srila Rupa Goswami has mentioned will become very easily visible when you stay with somebody for 24 hours, 7 days a week. That's all. If you want to see, who's really Krishna conscious, just stay with them 7 days, 24 hours a day, and then you'll immediately see, because you can't pretend. Thank you for everyone's feedback. Let us proceed. So today we're going to be covering 11 to 18. Sukadeva Goswami's praise to the Lord, obeisance unto the Lord. So Sukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit, he glorified Sukadeva Goswami and then asked to expand more on Krishna's creation. And we also made the point that Maharaj Parikshit only got 7 days. Sukadeva Goswami could have also, so Maharaj Parikshit would have thought, well, I only got few more days. Why should I worry about creation? Let's just go to Rasa Tattva. Sukadeva Goswami also got the inquiry, please tell me more about Krishna's creation. He could have also said, yeah, why are you asking this question? We should not be bothered about creation. Let's get to Rasa Tattva. But he also did not do that. Because if you miss these aspects, then one will not be fully qualified and ready to enter into higher levels of bhakti. Text 11. Shri Sutta Uvacha Ityupamam Trito Rajna Gunanu Katane Hare Rishikesham Anushritya Prativaktum Prachakrame. Sutta Goswami said, when Sukadeva Goswami was thus requested by the king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master of the senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly, he spoke thus. So now, very wonderful, Prabhupada's going to expand on this beautiful point. Sukadeva Goswami was asked to expand on Krishna's creation. The first thing that Sukadeva Goswami did, it's like somebody asks you a question, you respond. Sukadeva Goswami is asked a question, he did not respond. Between the inquiry and the response, something is in between. Between a circumstance and our response, there should be something in between. And what is that in between? What should be there between a request and a response, a circumstance, an event and a response, a question and an answer? There has to be something in between. And here is the answer. He then systematically remembered the master of the senses, Sri Krishna. So this is going to be the response or the instruction. What should be before these aspects? Very, very important. The devotees of the Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the master of senses. So very wonderful lesson. We should not think that I can do everything independently. I can preach independently, I can speak independently, I can build independently, I can do anything independently. No. I should always understand that really it all depends on Krishna. So in this case, there's a question and there's an answer. And Sukadeva Goswami is very, very clearly showing us that I can't just speak without Krishna's mercy. I can't just act without Krishna's mercy. I can't just do anything without Krishna's mercy. I'm dependent on Krishna. Materially, well, not really materially, but even if we had to take it, let's say, out of Krishna conscious perspective in a sense that I'm not a devotee. So if I'm not a devotee, let's say I'm a total materialist, I'm not interested in Krishna consciousness, I have nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. So I do not believe in Krishna, I don't accept Krishna. But yet I am achieving great results even without Krishna. So how is it, now I'm presenting a question to you people, you devotees, as devotees. So please answer in the chat. How is it that I don't believe in Krishna, yet I can act and I get results? And here you are telling me that you can't do anything independently. So how can you justify this point that I don't accept Krishna, yet I'm acting and I'm getting results? So what Krishna's got to do with that? Where is Krishna in the picture? Because it's very clear here, you can't do anything independently. So where's your Krishna? So Mother Les says, past karmic action fructifying. Okay. And Harini Devidasi says, free will. Good. Hemavati and Alinikanda says, Krishna gives free will. So yes, Krishna's, okay, so good. So, all right, everything is ultimately controlled by Krishna. We just don't see it. But he lives in our hearts, so sanctions, good, right. So the laws that Krishna, okay, so you people talked about, the devotees mentioned free will, laws that are there, karmic law. So that means if there's laws, there's a lawmaker, and that lawmaker is Krishna, which means you're not independent. Somebody's sanctioning. So if there's somebody sanctioning, then that's the super soul, that's Krishna. So therefore you're not independent. So that's how even someone who's not a devotee of the Lord, they cannot do anything on their own. We have our plan and Krishna has his own plan, especially for devotees. But the karmis, Krishna is not interested, because they're not interested in him, so therefore Krishna is not interested in them in terms of their plan, although Krishna is interested in them to bring them back to his shelter. So then the devotees are definitely interested in those souls. So in that sense, yes, Krishna's plan is there. So even a non-devotee is also dependent on Krishna. For example, for you to achieve any result in this world, you need your body, you need your senses, you need food, you need energy, you need sunlight, you need the earth. You need so many resources. Who's providing all those resources? Krishna, Supreme Lord. Therefore, you're dependent. So if we analyze, for you to do something, you need to breathe. You need your heartbeat. You're not controlling your heartbeat. So if you're not controlling your heartbeat, who is? Krishna. So in this way, Krishna has given us so many facilities, even to a non-devotee, to fulfill his desires. What to talk about devotees? The problem, the challenge, the obstacle is when we are non-devotees, there's no recognition of Krishna. But when we become devotees, then we recognize Krishna. But at a point, or when we're not conscious enough and Krishna conscious enough, when we start achieving results, we then think it's me. And we slowly slowly sideline Krishna. That becomes the obstacle. And we see Srila Prabhupada, when he went to America, in his prayers at Boston Harbor, very, very clear, my Lord, don't know why you brought me here. But if you brought me here, there must be a reason. Therefore, if you make my speech appropriate for them, then they'll understand. So Prabhupada was always Krishna conscious, with the understanding that it's Krishna that's doing, not me. So we need to slowly always remind ourselves that whatever we're able to do is by Krishna's mercy. And Sukadeva Goswami is sharing that understanding here. The senses, they think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the Master of the senses. The senses of the individual being are not in his own. The devotee knows that such senses belong to the Supreme Lord, and that they can be properly used when they are employed for the service of the Lord. The senses are instruments, and elements are ingredients, all endowed by the Lord. Therefore, whatever an individual can do, speak, see, etc., is under the direction of the Lord only. And because it's completely under the direction of the Lord, if he so desire, he can withdraw. If he so desire, he can bestow, because he's independent. If we become proud, thinking it's me, then Krishna can very quickly teach you the lesson. He can withdraw to remind us of the reality. Bhagavad Gita 15:15 confirms this. Sarvasya chaham ridi sanivashto matasmriti gnanam apohanam cha. No one is free to act freely and independently. And as such, one should always seek the permission of the Lord to act or eat, speak. And by the blessings of the Lord, everything done by a devotee is beyond the principles or the 4 defects typical for the conditioned soul. Now, the conditioned soul has these 4 defects, and these 4 defects: to cheat, be illusioned, to make mistakes, imperfect senses. With these imperfect senses, we are liable to fault, to deviate. But if we always remember the Lord, understand our dependence on the Lord, seek his blessings, and that means also via the medium of the spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada, with the intention to please them, then we can always act free from the defects of the 4 or the 4 defects that are there. So always we need to keep this in mind throughout our lives. We are not independent. Everything that we're able to do, everything that is happening, Krishna's there. This becomes very easy to see when things go well and wonderful things happen. It becomes very difficult to see when things don't go the way we expect. So in both circumstances, we should always see Krishna's hand. Text 12. Shri Sukha Uvacha Nama Parashme Purushya Bhuyase Sad Udbhava Sthana Nirodha Leelaya Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dihinam Antarbhava Yanu Palakshya Vartmane. Sukadeva Goswami said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, for the creation of the material world, accepts the three modes of nature. He is complete. He is the complete whole, residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. This material world is a manifestation of the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the Supreme Lord, for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, accepts three predominating forms as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankara, Shiva. Here is the connection between Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the material world. Krishna does not directly get involved with the material world. Why? Because Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. So Krishna doesn't need to get his hands dirty, so to speak. But that doesn't mean that it's not Krishna who's involved in the material world. Here it's very, very clearly mentioned. This material world is a manifestation of three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. And the Supreme Lord, who is Krishna, for creation, maintenance, destruction of the material world, accepts three predominating forms. So it is Krishna who is appearing, who is accepting these three forms: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Therefore, and we know that Brahma creates, Vishnu sustains, Lord Shiva destroys. That means everything that happens within the material creation is still dependent on the Supreme Lord. So we're hearing the dependency in relation to creation. As Vishnu, he enters into every body materially created. As Govardhan Vishnu, he enters into every universe. And as Shiladakshai Vishnu, he enters the body of every living being. That means no individual, no matter, no material energy, material nature, is independent of Krishna. Every single cell, every single atom is dependent on Krishna. Because Krishna is there in every atom, maintaining, giving the potency to that atom to exist. Therefore, we are dependent on Krishna. So it's only a proud, foolish person would say, I'm independent. I can do whatever I want. No, you can't do anything. You are not independent. You cannot do whatever you want. If you are able to do what you want, it is only because Krishna is allowing it to happen. For whatever reason. Lord Shri Krishna, being the origin of all Vishnu Tattvas, is addressed here as Parahuman or Purushottama, as described in Bhagavad Gita 15:18. He is the complete whole. The Purusha avatars are therefore his plenary expansions. Bhakti Yoga is the only process by which one can become competent to know him. Because the empiric philosophers and mystic yogas cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead, he is called Anupalakshya Vartmane, the Lord of the inconceivable way, or Bhakti Yoga. So Purushottama also is related to the fact that Krishna is the source of the Purusha avatars. Therefore, he is Purushottama. These three Vishnus, Karanadaksai Vishnu, Garbhodakasai Vishnu, and Kshiradakasai Vishnu, they are the predominating deities of this material creation. And Krishna is the source of these Purusha avatars. Therefore, he is called Purushottama. 13. Bhuyo nama sad vrijina chide satam asambhava yakila sattvata murtaye pumsam puna paramahamsya ashrame vyavastita nam anugramya dashu. I again offer my respectful obeisance unto the form of the complete existence and transcendence, who is the liberator of the pious devotees from all distresses and the destroyer of the further advances in atheistic temperament of the non-devotee demons. For the transcendentalists who are situated in the topmost spiritual perfection, he grants their spiritual destinations. So before Sukadeva Goswami is responding, he is praying to Krishna. He is seeking blessings from Krishna. He is offering prayers, pleasing the Supreme Lord. This is dependence. This is required. We'll find it's very amazing. Even Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord himself, would seek blessings of his expansions to set an example. Like we know in Krishna book, we hear Lord Krishna getting up and praying, offering prayers. We know many of the incarnations, they would seek blessings. So without blessings, we cannot achieve perfection. It's mentioned that in Krishna consciousness, for success to be there in any endeavor, we need the blessings of the devotees. We need the blessings of the Lord. So even in our lives, we want to seek blessings. So in this way, by getting more and more blessings, then they can be success. So Sukadeva Goswami, by his example, is teaching. He's offering these prayers to the Supreme Lord. He's not thinking, yeah, I'm qualified to speak. Let me speak. I'm capable. I can share. I can tell you. No, that dependence is always there, and it's a very wonderful quality. See, the materialist, for them, it's all about becoming independent. Let me show you how independent I am, how powerful I am. I can do things without anybody's help. But that mentality is really defective because they want to show that they're God. That's the mentality. Only Krishna is independent, in essence. Because Krishna is dependent on his devotees. Krishna is never separated from his devotees. But still, in terms of Krishna is self-sufficient. So yes, Krishna is that sense, he's independent. We know in the first verse, Swarat, Krishna is independent. So that's, in one sense, the definition of Krishna is Swarat, he's independent. But we know when we're going to come to the pastime of Durvasa Muni and Mahajambrish, in that pastime, we will hear Lord Vishnu says, actually, they say, scripture says, I'm independent. Swarat, actually, I'm not independent. I'm totally dependent on my devotee. So the materialists, they want to present themselves as God, that they're independent. But actually, that is a defective mentality. So therefore, as devotees, we always want to stay dependent. And that's a very healthy sign, very nice sign, very good sign. To be dependent on the service of the devotees, the mercy of the devotees. That dependence is a wonderful quality. That I cannot do anything without the mercy of the devotees, without the association of devotees, without the service of the Supreme Lord. So that is a good, healthy sign. Lord Shri Krishna is the complete form of all existence, both material and spiritual. Akhila means complete, or that which is not kila, inferior. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, there are two kinds of nature, prakriti, namely the material nature, and the spiritual nature, or external and eternal potencies of the Lord. The material nature is called apara, or inferior, and the spiritual nature is called superior or transcendental. Therefore, the form of the Lord is not of the inferior material nature. He is complete transcendence, and he is murti, or having transcendental form. The less intelligent men who are unaware of his transcendental form describe him as impersonal Brahman. But Brahman is simply the rays of his transcendental body. Yasya Prabhava. 540. The devotee who are aware of his transcendental form render him service. Therefore, the Lord also reciprocates by his causeless mercy and thus delivers his devotee from all distresses. The devotees who are aware of his transcendental form render him service. Therefore, the Lord also reciprocates by his causeless mercy and thus delivers his devotees from all distresses. The pious men who follow the rulings of the Vedas are also dear to him, and therefore the pious men of the world are also protected by him. So those who accept Krishna, we will know that you accept Krishna through your actions of service. And through your actions of devotional service, you will get Krishna's causeless mercy. And one manifestation of that causeless mercy is that you are protected. That protection that Krishna provides may not align to your understanding of protection. When it says here that Krishna will protect or deliver his devotee from all distresses, you may render service to Krishna and still be in distress. And now you're wondering, I'm rendering service to Krishna, why I'm still in distress? Prabhupada is saying here, the Lord reciprocates by his causeless mercy and thus delivers his devotee from all distress. But I'm still distressed. Something's not right. No, it's all right. You just carry on. Because if you carry on, eventually you will find that one day you are free from all distresses. Your journey, your adventure will lead to freedom from all distress. But in order to learn lessons, in order to teach, in order to purify, you need to go through different adventures of distress. Those adventures of distress, either to test you, to purify you, right? So that you can be an example, so that you can increase your determination, or whatever reason Krishna has. Those distresses that Krishna places his devotees in, they're actually Krishna's loving embrace. They're Krishna's reciprocation. You seeing it as distress, but the pure devotee does not see it as distress. Pure devotee sees it as Krishna's love bite, Krishna's wonderful reciprocation. So this is how one sees distress, as a friend. The impious and the non-devotees are against the principle of the Vedas. And so such persons are always hampered from making advancement in their nefarious activities. Some of them who are specially favored by the Lord are killed by him personally, as in the cases of Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, and Kamsa. And thus, such demons get salvation and thereby checked from further progress in their demonic activities. Just like a kind father, either in his favor upon the devotees or his punishment of the demons, he is ever kind to everyone because he is the complete existence for all individual existence. So whatever Krishna does, both for the devotees and the demons, is a blessing. It's always for the good. The non-devotees, they may endeavor, and they don't realize that their endeavors will eventually be null and void. Because nothing in this world is permanent. If we look at history, take any empire that was built and established with so much effort and so much endeavor, so many challenges, so many enemies and friends, but the empire is built. Now, someone may say, but that person built an empire. And no doubt he built an empire with his blood, sweat, and tears. But now you look back and you say, well, where is that empire that was built? You get the Mughal empires. You get so many different empires that were built. Hitler built an empire. Now you look back and say, where is that empire? It doesn't exist anymore. Why? Because that's the nature of how Krishna deals with the demons. At that point in time, they don't realize that. But that's the truth. So we also have to appreciate that whatever we're doing, if it's materially directed, materially motivated, it's going to be short-lived. If it's spiritually directed, then we should also understand that there is no permanence there, but we can give a permanent result or benefit. Therefore, we find that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he was happy to save one soul and give one soul Krishna consciousness, then build hundreds of hospitals. Because building the hospitals may give material temporary results, but eventually it will end. And the soul will still be caught up in the cycle of birth and death. Just like you heal somebody, and then they carry on living, and they die, and they come back in the material world. And now they're in a different situation in the material world. So you gave them some temporary result or temporary relief, but you did not solve the problem. On the other hand, giving Krishna consciousness may be for a short time, but that exposure of Krishna consciousness will be eternally credited to them and eventually take them out of the material world and give them permanent results. So our focus should always be in that perspective. How can we help souls spiritually? in a Krishna conscious way, so that we can take that soul back to the original father. Like you're probably saying, just like a kind father, either in his favor upon the devotees or his punishment of the demons, he is ever kind to everyone because he is the complete existence of all individual existence. So we are part and parcel of Krishna. And therefore, because we are part and parcel of Krishna, the highest welfare work that we can present, that we can offer, that we can be of service to, is to link people back to Krishna. That is the highest welfare. People may not appreciate it, people may not see it as the highest. But from Krishna's perspective, and he's the supreme judge, it is. The Paramahamsa stage of existence is the highest perfectional stage of spiritual values. According to Srimati Kunti Devi, the Lord is factually understood by the Paramahamsas only, as there is gradual realization of the transcendence from impersonal Brahman to localized Paramatma to the personality of Godhead, Purushottam, Lord Krishna. Similarly, there is a gradual promotion of one situation in spiritual life of sannyas. So these are the different levels of sannyas, levels of advancement, even in the sannyas order. Kutichaka, Bahudaka, Parivrajak Acharya, and Paramahamsa are gradual progressive stages in the renounced order of life, sannyas. And Queen Kunti, the mother of Pandavas, have spoken about them in a prayer to Lord Krishna, Canto 1, Chapter 8. The Paramahamsas are generally found among both the impersonalists and the devotees. But according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, as clearly stated by Kunti Devi, pure bhakti yoga is understood by Paramahamsas. And Kunti Devi has especially mentioned that the Lord descends, paritranaya sadhuna, Bhagavad Gita 4.8, especially toward bhakti yoga to the Paramahamsas. So ultimately, the Paramahamsas, in the true sense of the term, are unalloyed devotees of the Lord. Srila Jiva Goswami has directly accepted that the highest destination is bhakti yoga, by which one renders transcendental loving service to the Lord. Those who accept the path of bhakti yoga are the factual Paramahamsas. Since the Lord is very kind to everyone, the impersonalists who accept bhakti as the means of merging into the Lord's impersonal existence, the Brahmajyoti, are also awarded their desired destination. So the path to realize Krishna, the path to get one's desired goal, is bhakti yoga. And if one accepts the path of bhakti yoga, then that means one has achieved the realization of the level of effectual Paramahamsa, because only Paramahamsas can really receive and appreciate and accept the path of bhakti yoga. So if we, as aspirants on the path of bhakti yoga, if we are realizing the glory of bhakti, if we are appreciating this path of Krishna consciousness, if we are getting greater and greater realization of the power, the glory of bhakti yoga, that's a very healthy sign of spiritual life. He has assured everyone in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yata mam prapadyante tam stateva vajamyaham. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there are two classes of Paramahamsas, namely the Brahmavadis, the Brahmanandis, impersonals, and the Premanandis, devotees. And both are awarded their desired destinations. Although the Premanandis are more fortunate than the Brahmanandis, but both the Brahmanandis and the Premanandis are transcendentalists, and they have nothing to do with the inferior material nature full of the existential miseries of life. So there are those who accept the path of bhakti, they accept Krishna consciousness, the process of Bhakti Yoga. They are not envious of the Supreme Lord, but their allegiance is to the impersonal feature of Krishna. They are called Brahmanandis. So they, by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, they would get that destination. Then there are higher classes of transcendentalists who are called Premanandis. They accept the path of Bhakti. They practice the path of Bhakti. They are not envious of the Supreme Lord. They serve the Supreme Lord. And they get the destination of the spiritual world. Here Prabhupada is quoting, and why, this, even though they both accept the Supreme Lord, they're both not envious of Krishna, they both practice Bhakti Yoga, but yet one is getting a destination of the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, and the other is getting the destination of the spiritual world. Why? Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatamam prapadyante tamstateva bhajamyaham. According to your surrender, according to how you approach Krishna, Krishna responds accordingly. So if you approach Krishna with 5% Krishna consciousness, Krishna responds 5%. If you surrender 5%, Krishna responds 5%. If you surrender 50%, Krishna responds 50%. If you surrender 100%, Krishna responds 100%. So that's how Krishna deals with every living entity. Those who are interested in Krishna, Krishna is interested in them. Those who are not interested in Krishna, Krishna is not interested in them. And that's what makes the devotees special. Because it is the devotees who are interested in those who are not interested in Krishna. Krishna is not interested, but the devotees are. Because they know that ultimately, if I make them Krishna conscious, Krishna will be very pleased. Now, this verse, Krishna says that I reward accordingly. But we find that with the gopis, because of their intense love and full surrender, without any expectation unto the Supreme Lord, Krishna himself felt incapable of reciprocating. Krishna in the 10th canto prays to the gopis, please forgive me. I cannot repay. I cannot reciprocate your love. I cannot repay your love. Your love is beyond repayment. And Krishna tells the gopis, I cannot pay your love, and therefore Krishna feels indebted. He feels, just consider that person who owns, who's all attractive, who is the source of unlimited resources. That Supreme Lord feels indebted. That's the degree, that's the level of the gopis' love for Krishna, which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to glorify. So Krishna, he has this lack that I cannot repay. Now, this lack that Krishna has, that he cannot repay, Krishna tells the gopis that please accept your service as repayment. Whatever services they're rendering, in terms of direct service to Krishna, glorification of Krishna, remembrance of Krishna, please accept that as repayment. And one of the purposes of the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is really to fulfill this lack that Krishna had. Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appeared 5,000 years ago, could not respond and reciprocate with the gopis. Krishna reciprocated with every other devotee, the whole of creation, besides the residents of Vrindavan, the gopis. So Krishna came as Srijat Mahaprabhu to fulfill that through the glorification of the devotees of the residents of Vrindavan, the gopis, and through their service of glorifying Krishna, of remembering Krishna, of chanting his names, of hearing his glories. That service, Srijat Mahaprabhu came as a devotee to glorify them, at the same time repay that debt by glorifying the devotees. And if we serve the Lord in this capacity, which means hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna, then we are also serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, fulfilling the debt that Krishna had with the gopis. So therefore, hearing the glories of Krishna, hearing the Bhagavatam, remembering the Lord, is not an ordinary service. It is a very intimate, you could say it's the most intimate service in our line that is very deeply connected to Srijat Mahaprabhu and to the residents of Vrindavan, the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. And when we understand and realize that, then we will always be very grateful for the opportunity to hear, chant, and serve the Supreme Lord, because it is intimate service. 14. Namo namaste stvi rishabhya sattvatam vidura kashtaya muhu puyoginam nirastasam yati sayena radha sa swadamani brahmani ramshyate nama. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him who is the associate of the members of the Yadu dynasty, and who is always a problem for the non-devotees. He is the supreme enjoyer of both the material and spiritual worlds. Yet, he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him, because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. There are two sides of the transcendental manifestations of the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. For the pure devotees, he is the constant companion, as in the case of his becoming one of the family members of the Yadu dynasty, or he is becoming the friend of Arjuna, or he is becoming the associate neighbor of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, as the son of Nanda Yashoda, the friend of Sudama, Sridham, and Madhumangal, or the lover of the damsels of Vrajabhumi, etc. These are aspects of his personal feature. And by his impersonal feature, he expands the rays of the Brahmajyoti, which is limitless and all-pervasive. Part of this all-pervasive Brahmajyoti, which is compared to the sun rays, is covered by the darkness of Mahatattva. And this insignificant part is known as the material worlds. Note this insignificant part. You are in the environment that is insignificant, yet you are considering that we are considering that we are very significant. Sees the illusion that everyone's material world is thinking we're so important. In fact, we're so important, we're the only important people in creation. And if you look outside in space, nobody else exists besides us. Krishna has his ways of fooling people. And in other planets, who knows? They're looking out and they're saying, yeah, we are so significant. We are the only people that exist. In this material world, there are innumerable universes like the one we can experience. And in each of them, there are hundreds of thousands of planets like the one we are inhabiting. The mundaners are more or less captivated by the unlimited expansions of the rays of the Lord. But the devotees are concerned more with his personal form, from which everything is emanating. Janmat yasya yata. As the sun rays are concentrated in the sun disk, the Brahma Jyoti is concentrated in Goloka Vrindavan, the topmost spiritual planet in the spiritual sky. The immeasurable spiritual sky is full of spiritual planets, namely Vaikunthas, far beyond the material sky. The mundaners have insufficient information of even the mundane sky. So what can they think of the spiritual sky? Therefore, the mundaners are always far, far away from him. With the tiny rockets, they are having difficulty reaching even the nearest planet, the moon. Therefore, what can they conceive of the spiritual sky and the planets there? Even if in the future they are able to manufacture some machines whose speed may be accelerated to the velocity of the wind or mind, the mundaners still be unable to imagine reaching the planets in the spiritual sky. So we're going to see Prabhupada and the Bhagavatam is going to do this very, very often. As we're going through the material creation, we will hear about how Krishna creates, how Krishna is involved in creation, but you will find Prabhupada doing this again and again. He will always compare it with the alternative. The material world is Krishna's creation. We honor it, we respect it, we accept it, we offer it in service to Krishna. But it is not our destination. It is not our goal. So as the material creation is described, Prabhupada would always give us the proper context in which to see the creation in relation to our real destination. At the same time, Prabhupada also will use it to reveal the folly of the material creation, the materialists, those in the material world. So here we are in this most insignificant part of creation that have practically unlimited universes with unlimited planets. And even if we create machines that can fly with the velocity of wind or mind, what? That's like really future technology that's mind-blowing. And even if we do that, we will not be able to reach and even understand the spiritual dimension. And this is the most insignificant part of creation. Then there is the spiritual expansion of all the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, which is glorious. But even that is not our destination. Our destination is beyond that. The highest apex of the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. That is our home. So the Lord and his residential abode will always remain a myth or a mysterious problem for them. But for the devotees of the Lord will always be available as an associate. But for the devotees, the Lord will always be available as an associate. In the spiritual sky, the Lord's opulence is immeasurable. He resides in all the spiritual planets, the innumerable Vaikuntha planets, by expanding his plenary portions along with his liberated devotee associates. But the impersonalists who want to merge into the existence of the Lord are allowed to merge as one of the spiritual sparks of the Brahma Jyoti. They have no qualifications of becoming associates of the Lord, either in the Vaikuntha planets or in the supreme planet Goloka Vrindavan, described in Bhagavad Gita as Mad-Dhamma, and here in this verse as Swadhamma of the Lord. This Mad-Dhamma or Swadhamma is described in Bhagavad Gita 15:6 as follows. Na tad vashayato surya na shashanko na pavaka yad katva na nivartante tad dhamma paramam. The Lord Swadhamma does not require any sunlight or moonlight or electricity for illumination. That Dhamma or place is supreme, and whoever goes there never comes back to this material world. The Vaikuntha planets and the Goloka planets are all self-illuminating, and the rays scattered by those Swadharmas of the Lord constitute the existence of the Brahman Jyoti. The self-illumination of the Lord Swadhamma is further confirmed in the Vedas in the following verses found in the Mukunda Upanishad 2-10, Katha Upanishad 2-15, and Sweta Swara Upanishad 6-14. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto banti kuto yam agni tam eva bantam anubati sarvam tasya bhasha sarvam idam vibhati. In the Swadhamma of the Lord, there is no need of sun, moon, stars for illuminating, nor is there need of electricity. So what to speak of the ignited lamps? On the other hand, it is because those planets are self-illuminating that all effulgence has become possible. And whatever there is that is dazzling is due to the reflection of the Swadhamma. One who is dazzled by the effulgence of the impersonal Brahma Jyoti cannot know the personal transcendence. Therefore, in the Upanishad 15, it is prayed that the Lord remove his dazzling effulgence so that the devotees can see his real reality. It is spoken thus. Hiranyamayena patrena satyas yapi hitam mukam tattvam ushan apar vrinu satyam dharmaya dishtaye. O Lord, you are the maintainer of everything, both material and spiritual, and everything flourishes by your mercy. Your devotional service or bhakti yoga is the actual principle of religion, Satya Dharma, and I am engaged in that service. So kindly protect me by showing your real face. Please therefore remove the veil of your Brahma Jyoti rays so that I can see the form of eternal bliss and knowledge. So in terms of creation, Krishna's there, the spiritual creation. From his body, the Brahma Jyoti expands, and that's the middle layer. And then further extends, the Brahma Jyoti pervades the entire creation of Krishna. And in one insignificant portion of that creation, which is where is the Mahatattva, the raw ingredients, is the material creation. Prabhupada also mentions 1/4. So 1/4 of Krishna's unlimited creation is material. The rest 3/4 is spiritual. Therefore, majority is in the spiritual world. The Brahma Jyoti is not our destination. Yes, there are those who want that to be their destination, and Krishna gives them that destination. They become souls giving or allowing their light also to be illuminated as part of the Brahmajyoti. So the Brahmajyoti is really inconceivable number of living entities that are part of Krishna's effulgence, giving that brilliance. Our destination is beyond in terms of the spiritual world and also beyond in terms of impersonal feature. Prabhupada is quoting Shri Upanishad, where the devotee is praying that you please remove this effulgence, this glare. Just like when investigators are interrogating those that they capture, then they place a dark light, a bright light next to them. So when the bright light is hitting the eyes, they can't see the person who's asking questions. But when the light is taken away, now you can see. So Krishna's effulgence prevents Krishna's form from being visible. And majority of transcendentalists, or those who are practicing spiritual life, or at least in the neophyte stage, they accept that God is light. Sri Upanishad is revealing the higher truth, that the light that they're seeing is basically the effulgence of Krishna. So God is not really light. At the same time, we know that it's the Paramatma and Bhagavan are absolute truth, one truth. So it's a different feature or facet of Krishna. And the devotee is praying, please, my Lord, remove the effulgence so that I can see a beautiful face. And when that prayer is fulfilled and Krishna reveals his beautiful face, now one can develop a relationship with Krishna, and one can now be eternally associated with the personal form of Krishna. And that is the highest relationship that one can have with Krishna. Even those relationships can be of different levels. One can have a neutral relationship. One can have a servitorship relationship, a friendly relationship, a parental relationship, and the highest, a conjugal relationship. So even the relationships can be of different levels. 15. Yet kirtanam, yet smaranam, yet ikshanam, yet vandanam, yet shravanam, yet archanam, lokasya sadyo vidu noti kalmasham tasmai subhadra shraveshe namo namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisance to the all auspicious Lord Shri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrance, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effect of all sins of the performer. So all these different activities, glorification, remembrance, audience, prayers, hearing, worship, can at once cleanse. Tasmai Subhadra. It's all auspicious, and vidunoti kalmasham, can cleanse at once. That means depending on one's faith in these processes, the effect will be felt. The sublime form of religious performances to free oneself from all reactions of sins is suggested herein by the greatest authority, Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Kirtanam, glorification of the Lord, can be performed in very many ways, such as remembering, visiting the temples to see the deity, offering prayers in front of the Lord, hearing recitation of glorification of the Lord, as mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam or in Bhagavad Gita. Kirtana can be performed both by singing the glories of the Lord in accompaniment with melodious music, or by recitation of scripture like Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. The devotee need not be disappointed in the physical absence of the Lord. thinking they are not associating with him. The devotional process of chanting, hearing, remembering, etc., either all or some of them, or even one of them, can give us the desired result of associating with the Lord by discharging the transcendental loving service of the Lord in the above manner. So the previous verse spoke about having the Lord as an associate, and that those devotees who are very fortunate that always have the Lord as an associate, like the Yadavas, Pandavas. But those in the material world are not excluded from having the association of the Lord. We can have the Lord as an associate very, very simply through the performance of these different devotional activities. So we must always keep in mind that when we engaged in hearing, glorifying, serving the Lord in these different ways, we are directly associating with the Lord. The more we keep that in our mind, the more we focus on that, the more we realize that, the more serious, the more grave we will be in our service. The more focused and attentive we'll be in our service. The more powerful and effective will be the service. Sometimes we may be engaged in devotional service and, there's prajalpa and there's frivolous talks. It's like the service is just by the way. But we have to understand that if we're engaging in that service, we are directly associating with the Lord. The Lord is there. And the Lord is no ordinary person. That's why we are hearing about the creation. He's created this magnificent creation, vast creation. This creation is so vast, so magnificent, so amazing and powerful. And the source of that, Supreme Lord, is unlimitedly more powerful and glorious. And that person is available, and I'm associated with him. Therefore, let me give my attention. Let me give my full focus, my heart to that activity. Because through this activity, I am actually associating with Krishna. So in this way, the more we begin to realize, the more we will appreciate and take Krishna consciousness more seriously. It's like giving a child a gold bar. Here's a gold bar for you. And the child will take the gold bar and play with it, neglect it. He's not, he doesn't know the value of a gold bar. But if you give it a gold bar to an adult, the adult immediately go and put in a safe. He'll value it, he treasure it, he knows the value of it. So like that, we need to slowly appreciate the value of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. They're not ordinary processes. They are processes which are related to Krishna, which allows one to associate directly with Krishna. Like Prabhupada says, when you perfect the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, the result will be you'll see Krishna face to face. That's the perfection of chanting, is that when you're chanting, you are seeing Krishna face to face. So right now we're chanting, we're not seeing Krishna face to face, but that doesn't mean Krishna is not there. It just means that you are not able to see due to the anarthas, the clouds of anarthas that are covering us. So the process is perfect and complete. We, on the journey of the process, need to continue so with the proper attitude and focus so that we can get the desired result of this glorious process. Even the very sound of the holy name of Lord Krishna or Rama can at once surcharge the atmosphere spiritually. We must know definitely that the Lord is present wherever such pure transcendental service is performed. And thus, the performer of offenseless kirtan has positive association with the Lord. And that is why where there's kirtan, pure kirtan, there is the Lord. And the pure devotee is always in association with the Lord. As we mentioned, we have the process, but not the quality of the process. So we want to perform offenseless kirtan. Like one offense, if there's kirtan and you're not absorbed, you're chatting, you think you're speaking about something else, it's an offense to kirtan. So like that, there may be so many offenses which are there. We're trying to rise above these offenses. So we pray to Krishna, please allow me to rise above these offenses. Please bless me that I may be able to chant offenselessly so that I can please Hari Guru Vaishnava. If we are able to do this, then we will be able to render the greatest service to the community and association of Vaishnavas. And even if we all try and endeavor just a little to be offenseless, to improve, then collectively we all have improved. And that helps our spiritual process or spiritual progress collectively when we congregate and we try to improve more and improve. So collectively we're helping each other. We individually helping ourselves, at the same time collectively we're helping. And if just one of us are able to come to this level of chanting, then by that perfection, you will bless the whole congregation because it's contagious. Offenseless kirtan means direct positive association with the Lord, which means that will have a overflowing positive result on everyone. Similarly, remembrance and the prayers also can give us the desired result if they are properly done under expert guidance. So again, it's not just praying, but how are we praying? Proper praying. One should not concoct forms of devotional service. One may worship the form of the Lord in the temple, or one may impersonally offer the Lord devotional prayers in a mosque or church. One is sure to get free from the reactions of sins, provided one is very careful about not committing sins willingly in expectation of getting free from the reactions of sins by worshiping the temple or by offering prayers in the church. This mentality of committing sins willfully on the strength of devotional service is called namno balad yasya hi papa buddhi, and it is the greatest offense in the discharge of devotional service. Hearing, therefore, is essential in order to keep oneself strictly on guard against such pitfalls of sins. And in order to give special stress to the hearing process, the Goswami invokes all auspicious fortune in this matter. So there's a warning and there's a blessing. We cannot use the blessing to continue our nonsense. We have to decide to change. We have to make positive strides and steps to offenseless chanting and the proper approach to devotional service. We cannot concoct forms of devotional service. You can't just decide, okay, it's Krishna related, it's Krishna connected, therefore I can serve however I want to, however my mind decides and concocts a form of service. No. It has to be done according to the previous acharyas, parampara, and the guidance of the pure devotees. Just in relation to one should not concoct forms of devotional service. An example would be somebody may want to concoct some variation of a mantra because it sounds nice, has a nice I can play a nice tune to it, and therefore I can now concoct different variations of mantras or put different mantras together. Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram. Sounds cool, sounds nice, and it's all the names of Krishna. And names of Krishna are, powerful, non-different from Krishna. Prabhupada is saying here, each, even the very sound of the holy name of Lord Krishna or Rama can at once surcharge the atmosphere spiritually. So Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram. All names of Krishna. Radha Krishna is there, Ram is there, Gorinta is there, everyone's there. How wonderful. One should not concoct forms of devotional service. This is this is an example of a concocted form of devotional service. Chaitanya Charitamrita Prabhupada describes this example. This is called rasabas. So, because you don't know the full tattva, full truth, you only know one part of it. You're taking that one part, you're concocting, and you're committing an offense of rasabas. So that's why, as a pure devotee who knows the complete truth, he's able to give you the truth that is effective, that will work without committing offenses. And that is why it is the safest to follow what Srila Prabhupada has given us and just dedicate our life to that. Because if we start to introduce and create other aspects of devotional service, because we're not expert, we may be committing an offense, or they may be lacking that, and therefore it may not have the desired result. So safest is to follow Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes we may be in a situation where we don't know, should I or shouldn't I? Is it good or is it bad? So Prabhupada said, in that situation, always avoid. Safer. Safer. And if you know that this is how Prabhupada did it, then that is safest. Stick to it, you'll be safe. It will save you a lot of time and effort and give you the desired result. 16. Vichakshanayach charana charanopasadanat sangam yudo sangam vyudasyobayato antara atmanam vindanti brahmana gatim gata klamas tasme subhadra shravese namo nama. Let me offer my respectful obeisance again and again unto the all-auspicious Lord Shri Krishna, the highly intellectual, simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet, are relieved of all attachments to present and future existence, and without difficulty progress towards spiritual existence. Lord Shri Krishna has repeatedly instructed Arjuna, or for that matter, everyone concerning with becoming his unalloyed devotee. In the last phase of his instruction in Bhagavad Gita 18:64-66, he instructed most confidential as follows: Sarva Guyatamam Bhuya Shrinu me Paramam Vacha Isto si me Dridam iti Tato Bakshyami te hitam manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam eveshyasi satyam te pratijanye priyo sime sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksayishyami masucha. My dear Arjuna, you are very dear to me, and therefore only for your good I will disclose the most secret part of my instructions. It is simply this: become a pure devotee of mine and give yourself unto me only. I promise you full spiritual existence, by which you may gain the eternal right of transcendental loving service unto me. Just give up all other ways of religiosity and exclusively surrender unto me, and believe that I will protect you from your sinful reactions, and I shall deliver you. Do not worry anymore. Unquote. Persons who are intelligent take serious notice of this last instruction of the Lord. Knowledge of the self is the first step in spiritual realization, which is called confidential knowledge, and a step further in God realization, which is called more confidential knowledge. The culmination of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is God realization. And when one attains this stage of God realization, he naturally, voluntarily becomes a devotee of the Lord to render him loving transcendental service. So we see a gradual progress. You understand, yes, I'm not this body, I'm spirit, soul. That's good, but not good enough. Then you understand I'm part and parcel of Krishna. Good, but not good enough. Then you understand I'm a servant of Krishna. I need to serve Krishna. That's good, but not good enough. Then you begin to serve Krishna. That's good, but not good enough. Then you need to purify your service and become completely pure of all motivations and completely dedicate your life in service of Krishna. That's required. This devotional service to the Lord is always based on love of God, and is distinct from the nature of routine service as prescribed in Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Dhyana Yoga. In Bhagavad Gita, there are different instructions for men of different categories, and there are various descriptions of Varnashram Dharma, Sannyas Dharma, Yati Dharma, and the renounced order of life, controlling the senses, meditation, perfection of mystic powers, etc. But one who fully surrenders unto the Lord to render service unto him out of spontaneous love for him, factually assimilates the essence of all knowledge described in the Vedas. One who adopts this method very skillfully attains perfection of life at once. And this perfection of human life is called Brahmagati, or the progressive march in spiritual existence, as enunciated by Srila Jiva Goswami on the basis of Vedic assurances. Brahmagati means to attain a spiritual form as good as that of the Lord, and in that form, the liberated living being eternally lives on one of the spiritual planets situated in the spiritual sky. Attainment of this perfection of life is easily available to a pure devotee of the Lord without his undergoing any difficult method of perfection. Such a devotional life is full of kirtanam, smaranam, ikshanam, etc., as mentioned in the previous verse. One must therefore adopt this simple way of devotional life in order to attain the highest perfection available in any category of human form of life in any part of the world. When Lord Brahma met Lord Krishna as a playful child at Vrindavan, he offered his prayer in which he said, Shreya Shritim Bhaktim Udasyate Vibho Klishyanti Ye Kevala Bodha Labdaye Tesham Ashok Kleshalela Eva Shishyate Anyad Yatastula Tu Savagatinam. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-4. Bhakti Yoga, the highest quality of perfection, is to be achieved by the intelligent person in lieu of performing a large quantity of spiritual activities. The example cited here is very appropriate. A handful of real paddy is more valuable than heaps of paddy skins without any substance within. Similarly, one should not be attracted by the jugglery of karma kanda or jnana kanda, or even the gymnastic performances of yoga, but skillfully should take to the simple performances of kirtanam, smaranam, etc., under a bona fide spiritual master, and without any difficulty attain the highest perfection. And Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated. If you complicate it, you're going to complicate the process. You want to introduce things that just complicate life. Simple for the simple means it's very simple. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Just do Kirtanam, Smaranam, etc. We don't need to engage in any other activities. They are sufficient and powerful to give us everything that we desire. The problem is of our attachments, because we are attracted to karma kanda, jnana kanda, gymnastic, yoga, performance, etc. We may still be attracted to these activities, and they may be like anchors that stop us from fully embracing the process that is given. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And therefore, by Prabhupada's instructions, we pray that these instructions go deep within our heart and convince us that just stick to these simple practices. Because even though they're simple, they are sublime and all-powerful. Other processes that require very elaborate arrangement, resources, skills. I mean, to stand on your head, it requires some skill. And if you can stand on your head, that's good. Yogis, they try to stand on their head for more than 3 hours. And if you can stand on your head for more than 3 hours, you can conquer death. So now somebody hears that, wow, far out, stand on your head for 3 hours and conquer death. So then they become attached to that. That's what I want to do. Conquering death does not mean pure love of Krishna. We want pure love of Krishna. So to get pure love of Krishna, you don't need to stand on your head. Just get a pair of cartels. Prabhupada said, even if you don't have cartels, just use your hands. You can clap. You can have kirtan. And remember the Lord. And that process will allow you to achieve perfection. You'll associate with Krishna and you'll go back to Godhead. So you really don't need any resources to be Krishna conscious. You really do not need any skills to be Krishna conscious. You just need a simple heart to offer to the supreme, lovable, worshipable object, supreme personality of God. Here you see baby Krishna, supreme lovable object. And he's got his Tadiloba, his pet monkey, who loves him dearly. And Krishna loves pet monkey dearly. So we just simply have to glorify, offer our love to that Supreme Lord. 17. Tapasvino dana parai yasasvino manasvino mantravido samangala shemam na vindanti vina yat arpanam tasme subhadra shravane shraveshe namo namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisance to the all-auspicious Lord Shri Krishna again and again, because the great learned sages, the great performers of charity, the great workers of distinction, the great philosophers and mystics, the great chanters of Vedic hymns, the great followers of Vedic principles cannot achieve any fruitful result without dedication of such great qualities to the service of the Lord. Such a wonderful prayer. Advancement of learning, a charitable disposition, political, social, and religious leadership of human society, philosophical speculation, the practice of yoga system, expertise in Vedic rituals, and all high qualities in men serve one in the attainment of perfection only when they're employed in the service of the Lord. Without such dovetailing, all such qualities become sources of trouble for the people in general. Everything can be utilized either for one's own sense gratification or in the service of one other than oneself. There are two kinds of self-interest also, namely personal selfishness and extended selfishness. But there is no qualitative difference between personal and extended selfishness. Theft for personal interest or for the family interest is the same quality, namely criminal. A thief pleading not guilty because of committing theft, not for personal interest, but for the interest of society or country, has never been excused by the established law of any country. People in general have no knowledge that the self-interest of a living being attains perfection only when such an interest coincides with the interest of the Lord. For example, what is the interest of maintaining body and soul together? One earns money for maintaining the body, personal or social. But unless there is God consciousness, unless the body is being properly maintained to realize one's relationship with God, all good efforts to maintain body and soul together are similar to the attempts of the animals to maintain body and soul together. The purpose of maintaining the human body is different from that of animals. Similarly, advancement of learning, economic development, philosophical research, study of the Vedic literatures, or even execution of activities like charity, opening hospitals, or distributing food grains should be done in relation with the Lord. The aim of all such acts and endeavors must be the pleasure of the Lord and not the satisfaction of any other identity, individual or collective. Samsidir Paritoshanam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2-13. Everything, all our activities, all our endeavors in any field, as described here, should be for one thing and one thing only, to please Krishna. Am I pleasing Krishna? That should be the objective. So the question I have now is, how do we know we're pleasing Krishna? How can I be sure I'm pleasing Krishna? Please let us know in the chat. Because if everything should be done for the pleasure of Krishna, how do I know I'm pleasing Krishna? If I'm not pleasing Krishna, then I'm wasting my time and energy. Anyone? How do I know I'm pleasing Krishna? Because I can't see Krishna right now. And I don't think Krishna is giving me a SMS. Very nice. Please continue. You're doing nicely. Shamananda Prabhu says, if we're doing as Prabhupada instructed, very good. If we feel blissful while serving Krishna and the devotees, yes, your attachment to 9 processes increases, becomes easier, more joyful to perform, yes. We are devotees who please with our service, our inclination to serve Vaishnavas will increase, yes. So, if we are pleasing Prabhupada, just like we go to Prabhupada and say, Prabhupada, if I eat Krishna Prasad, is that pleasing to you? Yes. So it's pleasing Prabhupada means pleasing Krishna. Okay, so anyway, any activity that pleases Prabhupada, pleases the devotees, pleases those devotees who are honest. Because you can have shadow devotional service, pleasing shadow devotees, and thinking you pleasing Krishna. So we also want to be careful of that. So the safest is if it's in Bhagavad Gita, if it's in Srimad Bhagavatam, because Prabhupada's instructions are there, and you're following those instructions, rest assured you are pleasing Krishna. That's how you can gauge. And all of our devotional activities and all our activities in our life in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada has given clear instructions on how to practice. Just like how to raise children, how to perform your work, how to keep clean, how to serve the deities, how to serve the devotees. All these instructions Prabhupada has given us. The Shikshamrita, you see all the different topics, Prabhupada's instructions. So, if we follow those instructions, we should know firmly that we are pleasing Krishna, we are pleasing Prabhupada, and therefore pleasing Krishna. And in this way, we can then experience the other aspects of Krishna consciousness, which are deeper, which you've highlighted. Afana says, it's difficult to know because I chant daily, but I feel I need to do more or better or polish up one's chanting as though it's never enough. And I have no desire to give up, but go forward. Yes, that's why, because remember, lacking taste, just like Sharina says, we feel blissful while serving Krishna and devotees. But I may be serving the devotees and chanting Hare Krishna, and I don't feel blissful. It's like, my bead bag is like a hammer, man. It's like it's like a heavy weight. Like, geez, difficult. Or I'm chanting, I'm trying my best, and I still feel like not doing enough. So I'm not feeling blissful. I feel I'm not doing enough. That does not mean you're not pleasing Krishna. So that's why the basis of knowing that you're pleasing Krishna, more than any other aspect, is that you are following Prabhupada's instructions. So if Prabhupada says you should chant, and you are chanting, you're pleasing Prabhupada, and you're pleasing Krishna. That's the safest. Whether I get taste or no taste, whether I'm feeling happy or not feeling happy, whether I'm free from distress or not, whether I'm in anxiety or not, I'm following the instructions of Prabhupada, and therefore I am pleasing Krishna. So in this way, that's how we should gauge. Because depending on where we are, our feelings and emotions may be of different experiences. Somebody can be very Krishna conscious, and yet, or generally, the more Krishna conscious one is, the more one is thinking, I'm not doing enough. Externally, one may feel unhappy, but internally, one is very happy. So like that, the emotions may be contradictory, conflicting, but the basis is you're following Prabhupada. That's the safest. The same principle is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:27, where it is said that whatever we may give in charity and whatever we may observe in austerity must be given over to the Lord or be done on his account only. Expert leaders of godless human civilization cannot bring about a fruitful result in any of their different attempts as at educational advancement or economic development unless they are God conscious. And to become God conscious, one has to hear about the all auspicious Lord as he is described in the literatures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. 18. Kirata unandri dra pulinda pulaksha abira sumba yavana kashadaya yen yecha papayad apashraya shraya sudyanti tasme prabhavish nava namaha Prabhavishnave Namaha. Kiratas, Hundas, Andras, Pulindas, Pukashas, Abhiras, Sumbas, Yavanas, members of the Kasha races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So now Prabhupada is going to explain these different groups of individuals. Kirata, a province of the old Bharatwaj mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata. Generally, the Kiratas are known as the Aboriginal tribes of India. In the modern days, the Santal Parganas in Bihar and Chota Nagpur might comprise the old province named Kirata. Huna, the area of East Germany and part of Russia, is known as the province of the Hunas. Accordingly, sometimes a kind of hill tribe is known as the Hunas. Andhras, a province in southern India, mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata, it is still extant under the same name. Pulinda, it is mentioned in Mahabharata, Shabha Parva 26:10, namely the inhabitants of the province of the name Pulinda. This country was conquered by Bhimsen and Sahadev. The Greeks are known as Pulindas, and it is mentioned in the Vana Parva of the Mahabharata that the non-Vedic race of this part of the world would rule over the world. This Pulinda province was also one of the provinces of Bharat, and the inhabitants were classified amongst the Kshatriya kings. But later on, due to their giving up the Brahmanical culture, they were mentioned as Malechas, just as those who are not followers of Islamic culture are called Kafirs, and those who are not followers of Christian culture are called heathens. Abhira, this name also appears in the Mahabharata, both in the Sabha Parva and Bhishma Parva. It is mentioned that this province was situated on the river Saraswati in Sindh. The modern Sindh province formerly extended to the other side of the Arabian Sea, and all the inhabitants of that province were known as Abhiras. They were under the domination of Mahayudhishthir, and according to the statements of Markandeya, the Malechas of this part of the world would also rule over Bharat. Later on, this proved to be true, as in the case of the Pulindas. On behalf of the Pulindas, Alexander the Great conquered India, and on behalf of the Abhiras, Muhammad Ghori conquered India. These Abhiras were also formerly Kshatriyas within the Brahmanical culture, but they gave up the connection. The Kshatriyas, who were afraid of Parashuram and had hidden themselves in the Caucasian hilly regions, later on became known as Abhiras, and the place they inhabited was also known as Abhira Desha. Sumbas and Kankas, the inhabitants of Kanka province of old Bharat, mentioned in the Mahabharata. Yavanas was the name of one of the sons of Maj Yayati, who was given the part of the world known as Turkey to rule. Therefore, the Turks are Yavanas, due to being descendants of Maj Yavana. The Yavanas were therefore Kshatriyas, and later on, by giving up Brahmanical culture, they became Malecha Yavanas. Descriptions of the Yavanas are in the Mahabharata. A prince called Turubashu was also known as a Yavana in Adiparva 8:26, and his country was conquered by Sahadev, one of the Pandavas. The Western Yavanas joined with Duryodhan in the battle of Kurukshetra under the pressure of Karna. It was foretold that these Yavanas would conquer India, and it proved to be true. Kasha, the inhabitants of Kashadesh, also mentioned in Mahabharata, Drona Parva. Those who have a stunted growth of hair on the upper lip are generally called Kashas. As such, the Kashas are the Mongolians, the Chinese, and others who are so designated. The above-mentioned historical names are different nations of the world. Even those who are constantly engaged in sinful acts are all corrigible incorrigible to the standard of human beings to take shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Jesus Christ and Muhammad, two powerful devotees of the Lord, have done tremendous service on behalf of the Lord on the surface of the globe. And from the version of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, it appears that instead of running a godless civilization in the present context of the world situation, if the leadership of the world affairs is entrusted to the devotees of the Lord, for which a worldwide organization under the name and style of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness has already been started, and by the grace of the Almighty, there can be a thorough change of heart in human beings all over the world because of the devotees of the Lord, because of the devotees of the Lord are able authorities to effect such a change by purifying the dust-worn minds of the people in general. The politicians of the world may remain in their respective positions because the pure devotees of the Lord are not interested in political leadership or diplomatic implications. The devotees are interested only in seeing that the people in general are not misguided by political propaganda and in seeing that the valuable life of human being is not spoiled in following a type of civilization which is ultimately doomed. If the politicians, therefore, would be guided by the good counsel of the devotees, then certainly there would be a great change in the world situation by purifying propaganda of the devotees, as shown by Lord Chaitanya. As Sukadeva Goswami began one of his prayers with the words, Yat Kirtanam, so also Lord Chaitanya recommended that simply by glorification of the Lord's holy name, a tremendous change of heart can take place, by which the complete misunderstanding between human nations created by politicians can at once be extinguished. And after the extinction of the fire of misunderstanding, other prophets will follow. The destination is to go back home, back to Godhead. And as we have several times discussed in these pages, according to the cult of devotion, generally known as Vaishnav cult, there is no bar against anyone's advancing in the matter of God realization. A Vaishnav is powerful enough to turn into Vaishnavas, even the Kiratas, etc., as above mentioned. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:32, it is said by the Lord that there is no bar to becoming a devotee of the Lord, even for those who are low-born or for women, Sudras or Vaishyas. And whoever becomes a devotee is eligible to return home back to Godhead. The only qualification is that one takes shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord, who has thorough knowledge of transcendental science of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyone from any part of the world who becomes well conversant in the science of Krishna becomes a pure devotee and a spiritual master for the general mass of people, and may reclaim them by purification of heart. Though a person be even the most sinful man, if he can at once be purified by systematic contact with a pure Vaishnava, a Vaishnava therefore can accept a bona fide disciple from any part of the world without any consideration of caste or creed, and promote him by regulated principles to the state of a pure Vaishnava, who is transcendental to Brahminical culture. System of caste or Varnashram Dharma is no longer regular even amongst the so-called followers of the system. Nor is it now possible to re-establish the institutional function in the present context of social, political, and economic revolution. Without any reference to the particular custom of country, one can be accepted into the Vaishnava cult spiritually, and there is no hindrance in the transcendental process. So by the order of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the cult of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita can be preached all over the world, reclaiming all persons willing to accept the transcendental cult. Such cultural propaganda by the devotees will certainly be accepted by all people who are reasonable and inquisitive, without any particular bias for the custom of the country. The Vaishnavas never accept another Vaishnava on the basis of birthright, just as he never thinks the deity of the Lord in the temple as an idol. And to remove all doubts in this connection, Sukadeva Goswami has invoked the blessings of the Lord, who is all-powerful. Prabha Vishnava Ve Namaha. Just as stone, wood, or metal is transcendently changed when the all-powerful Lord, in the form of the worshipable deity in the temple, accepts the humble service of his devotee in the devotional activities of the Archana, so the body of a pure Vaishnava at once changes transcendently when he gives himself up to the service of the Lord and is trained by a qualified Vaishnava. The injunction of the Vaishnava regulation in this connection runs as follows. Arche Vishnu Shila Dir Purusho Nara Matir Vaishnava Jati Buddhi Shri Vishnu Namami Mantre Sabda Samanya Buddhi, etc. One should not consider the deity of the Lord as worship in the temple to be idol, nor should one consider the authorized spiritual master as ordinary man. Nor one should consider a pure Vaishnava to belong to any particular caste. Nor should one consider the Hare Krishna mantra a material, sound, vibration, etc. The conclusion is that the Lord, being all powerful, can, under any and every circumstance, accept anyone from any part of the world, either personally or through his bona fide manifestation as a spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya accepted many devotees from communities other than the Varnashramites, and he himself declared to teach us that he does not belong to any caste or social order of life, but that he is the eternal servant of the Lord, who maintains the damsels of Vrindavan, Lord Krishna. Chaitanya Madhya Lila 13:18. That is the way of self-realization. So no one is bad. And we see Prabhupada's, we see this verse, this last verse in purport, so true. If you go to Mayapur, there are like 50 nations, devotees from 50 nations, from practically all different countries, all chanting and glorifying Krishna's names. There's Krishna conscious practically in every country. So it doesn't matter whether one is Chinese, Japanese, American, Russian, African, Indian, everyone is practicing the process of Krishna consciousness. This is the reality, this is the truth. So if we extend the process of Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada said, even on the political arena, if they take good guidance, it will purify the heart. Purify the heart. This is the power of the process of Krishna consciousness. We simply have to propagate the process, and the effect will be seen individually, in ourselves, and collectively. This is the blessing. And this will help establish the golden age more and more, until more and more take to the process, and eventually process becomes standard way of living that everybody is surrendered to, blissfully engaged in, and everyone can apply this process and go back to God. So we are grateful to Srila Prabhupada for starting this process, preaching this process, and somehow or other, by some good fortune, we've come in contact with this process. Now we need to broadcast this process. We need to extend this process. If it's good for you, it's good for others. And Prabhupada's vision is that it needs to go to every nook and cranny of this world. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda's vision, it needs to go to every house, every home, every living being. So we have plenty service to try to spread the wings of Krishna consciousness far and wide as much as we can, in whichever capacity we can. Pantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Pramanande Hari Hari Bo. Are there any questions or comments anyone has? Please type in the chat. Or if you want to unmute, you're most welcome to unmute. Just give a few more seconds. Shamananda Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you. Thanks for the wonderful class, especially verse 18 and the purport. Anyone and everyone can be admitted to devotional service of the Lord. We are all eternal servants and should always check and remind ourselves. Unfortunately, so-called caste divisions and aggregations have developed in our society, the very ones we are preaching against. Yes. And therefore, to have racism, casteism in Krishna consciousness, segregation in Krishna consciousness, actually unfortunate, and due to immaturity, this is there. There is absolutely no restriction, at least in the line of Lord Chaitanya. Even animals, what to talk about, different races, even animals can come to Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya preached to animals. Lord Chaitanya's associates preach to animals. So if it's good for the animals, it's good for them. Why? Because it is not dependent on your material identity, birth, place, etc. Every living entity is a servant of Krishna, and therefore every living entity has the right to practice Krishna consciousness. And we, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, should make sure that we do not harbor any tinge of racism, casteism, any form of segregation that inhibits us from giving Krishna consciousness to others. Yeah, we may not be able to control others, but at least individually, we should be part of the solution and not part of the Mother Lash. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful Transcendental Krishna Katha. May Krishna bless you and Mataji. Thank you for the blessings. Krishna Mati Rastu. We bless you as well. May you become Krishna conscious. I like the tough love scenario for Krishna, where suffering is mercy, but it's Krishna's way of loving us and guiding us, or gauging our sincerity. Thank you. Yes. A good student, a prepared student, he likes a good test, because then he knows that he's practice and learning and education is getting the desired fruit. If he just gets an easy test, like, no rasa in the taste. I mean, I learned so much. It's like sometimes, I'm sure you must have experience. You study the whole textbook, and then you go and they only give you questions from the first chapter. And you think, yeah, I studied, I practically knew every chapter, I knew it up by heart. And then they just give questions like from the first chapter. You don't feel the taste, there's no rasa. So like that also. Some devotees appreciate the tests. And the tests are there because, yes, it keeps us in line. Otherwise, Prabhupada also, in fact, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he made sure that his temples were always in debt. They always never had enough money. He always overextended in preaching. Why? Because they always had to go and collect. Why? So that they don't become complacent. As soon as they got opulence, the Bag Bazaar temple, so marbles, etc., then the challenge started. So we need, so yes, sometimes good test, to keep us test difficulties, not so easy, comfortable life is conducive for the practice of Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much for everyone's attention, association, and presence. May your Krishna consciousness grow and become more and more sweeter, more and more pure, so that we may become pure devotees, and in this way influence those amidst us and be of service to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai nitai o pramanande. Thank you, Vidya, for your kind message.